Mr. Eric Kuhrts. Eric Kuhrts will be sharing with everyone what makes our TUNE liquid concentrate full spectrum hemp extract superior to any and all other similar copycat type products sold in the marketplace.
And good evening to everybody out there who's listening. I guess the first place to start would be on the subject related to the subject of the TUNE hemp liquid concentrate. And Stephen's right. You know, there are other people that make all kinds of claims of having this and that and the other thing. But but this product, the TUNE product, is the result of many, many years of work in the field of what's called pharmacokinetics and pharmaceutical development, where things like absorption and metabolism, the disposition, and how long a particular compound stays in the bloodstream and how it's metabolized and all of that type of thing has been studied for many years. Many of the cancer drugs that are now prescription drugs over the last 20 years are what are called lipophilic compounds or oil compounds like Taxol, and most of them are, in fact, and those formulations had to be developed so that they could be absorbed into the bloodstream using special scientific processes to develop and to enhance the absorption, because they all suffer from very poor bioavailability. So bioavailability, most of you probably know what that means, but for those of you who might not, basically has to do with the magnitude of absorption of a particular compound. So in the case of CBD, which is one of the active compounds that's found in hemp, the absorption of the oil itself is only about 6%. So as a result of that, if you were to take 100 milligrams or 200 milligrams or whatever, you're only going to actually be getting about 6% of that into the bloodstream. And the other part of it is how rapidly is it getting into the bloodstream. That's called the Tmax, or the time to reach the maximum level of the compound in the bloodstream. In the case of our technology, both the magnitude of the absorption and the speed of the absorption, or the time it takes for it to reach a maximum level in the blood, are enhanced significantly. And the speed of absorption becomes important because if you're looking for a particular beneficial effect like a reduction in inflammation or effect on your how you feel and things like that and your sense of well-being, you want to have something that is going to start kicking in very quickly. And that's, you know, very important when it comes, if you take a tablet, you have to wait for the disintegration time, the time which it takes for the tablet to fall apart and dissolve in your stomach. And all these formulations, which are based on water, they're actually the way nature really intended us to be taking not only nutrients, but all kinds of different beneficial plant compounds. And when they're in a water matrix, then you don't have to go through all the pre-steps of having to break down a solid tablet, you know, which is very hard and had to be compressed together with very high forces. And then even after it's broken apart in the stomach, those particles of powder need to be properly dissolved and go through the system that they have to in the gastrointestinal tract to actually get into the bloodstream. And in many cases, they've passed by the window, what's called the window of absorption, have passed further down into the gastrointestinal tract, and only a small percentage has actually been absorbed. So absorption is critical to the beneficial effects of most of these compounds, because really it's only the B vitamins and the majority of the minerals which are water soluble. Most of the other so-called nutraceutical compounds or active medicinal plant compounds like the flavonoids, the bioflavonoids and the polyphenols and all these, and the carotenoids and all these different things, and even the fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin E, vitamin D3, and so on, are all fat-soluble. They're not water-soluble. So they suffer to a different degree from poor absorption. And once they can be put into a water vehicle and made water-soluble, then if that formulation is is working and is performing according to the way it's supposed to be, which is through testing, doing studies that are conducted to measure the actual blood levels after the formulation has been consumed orally, not intravenously or injected. So in the case of the TUNE hemp product, we've measured the actual absorption of compounds like CBD in that formulation in the bloodstream versus a controlled formulation, which is CBD mixed with a typical vegetable oil like olive oil. And this is a significant increase in the absorption and the speed to reach at which the compound reaches its maximal level in the bloodstream. The other aspect of the formulation has to do with the activator system. And the activator system is a group of botanical medicinal plant compounds that work with the hemp and the CBD and the other fatty acids contained in the hemp to enhance the overall effects of the phytocannabinoids of the CBD on the receptor systems in the body. Some of you might have heard about the endocannabinoid system, which is involved in the phytocannabinoid activities and many of the beneficial effects that have been associated with those compounds. But the fact of the matter is that the endocannabinoid receptors work in concert with many other receptors, which are contained in the brain and various other parts of the body. And it's not an isolated situation. Our bodies are fairly complex in nature. They don't consist of just single isolated genes or single isolated proteins or receptors. Most receptors are protein-like molecules. They're very complex structures, and they can be modulated by various other natural compounds like the activator system. By modulation, we mean that you can upregulate or downregulate the particular genes that are associated with those receptors. Upregulation means that you're increasing the activity of those receptors, and that results in downstream beneficial effects. Downregulation means that you're decreasing the activity of negative genes or negative receptors. And the activator system has very much to do with the regulation of what we call the master switch. What do we mean by a master switch? The master switch, which the activator system activates, or actually prevents from being activated, is called NF-kappa B. NF-kappa B is very interesting. It's a nuclear receptor, nuclear protein that regulates over 450 different negative genes. Our bodies are made up of many different genes. Some of those genes are bad genes, and some of those genes are good genes. And part of a supplement program or a medicinal plant therapeutic program that you would be taking on a regular basis would be designed to decrease the bad genes or suppress the bad genes while upregulating or increasing the activity of the beneficial genes. That's the way to stay in balance and stay healthy and that type of thing. And many of those bad genes can be activated by bad diet, even exposure to pollution, ultraviolet light, and even negative mental states like anger. We all know that there's a connection between the mind and the body, and there's definite connection when it comes to the master switch, in that if somebody is under constant stress, even if they're not exposed to pollution or carcinogens and other things like that, if they're just exposed to an environment which contains a constant bombardment of negative energy, such as anger and so on, that's going to activate or allow the NF-kappa B master switch to become activated, and all those different genes, those minions of genes, those 450 genes are going to be able to come out. I kind of liken it to a manhole cover, and underneath that manhole cover are all these, bad guys just waiting to get out of there. And if you lift that manhole cover up, or you let it to be opened up, that Pandora's box, all those different negative genes are going to come out of there and start wreaking havoc, start churning out cytokines, inflammatory molecules and enzymes and all kinds of downstream things that lead to chronic health problems. So you want to keep that master switch suppressed, that NF-kappa B switch. And so the activator system is all about keeping that mantle cover closed, keeping that Pandora's box, keeping the door, not even letting it open and crack, keeping it closed, and keeping all those negative genes suppressed. That's one of the primary activities there. The other part is having to do with enhancing our sense of well-being, our mood, our clarity, and our focus. And that's the part that is the tangible effect that we talk about a lot, which is most people notice, and it can be subtle or it can be not so subtle. It depends on the person and the genetic makeup and so on. But the tangible effects of how people feel is another aspect of the activator system and tune, that sort of enhancement of focus and clarity, that feel-good, the feel-good genes that are associated with that tangible effect. That's something that we can point to, that we can describe to people, but until people have actually taken the product, and especially once people start experiencing the Tune elixir, the beverage, then people will start to understand what we're talking about there. It's very experiential. And really you could say that there's four, it's sort of the fourth type of phenomena associated with things that people take to alter their sense of well-being or how they feel in life when they're involved in a lot of stress. Most people, they reach for alcohol, or they need caffeine to stimulate them, or they need a sleeping pill to go to sleep, or they'll take some kind of drug like marijuana or whatever. So those different things that we all know about that people reach for to try and alter their state of mind, right? Because there's a lot of suffering going on this planet. It's not anything new. Suffering's been going on forever, as long as we've known, but it seems like there's even more suffering going on today with the amount of information that's available that people are seeing all the time on the internet or on the news or whatever it is that's going on. We're constantly being bombarded by stimulants that can open up that NF-kappa B gate and allow all those genes to start causing problems. If that happens on a chronic or a continual basis, that's the key here. So we need something that we could take on a daily basis, for as long as possible, to help to shield us from the constant bombardment, both physiologically and mentally, because the mental part is extremely important. And now we've talked a little bit about how the mind can affect the physiology and the biochemistry of the body through this activation of NF-kappa B, and how a single suppression of a single switch can result in profound phenomena associated with our health. This is sort of the next dimension of therapeutic products. This is beyond what the pharmaceutical industry has really been doing for the last 50 years, which is developing a synthetic compound that is like a sledgehammer that just hammers on one downstream activity, like inhibition of an enzyme and the production of inflammation that is coming from that enzyme, and literally trying to stop the stream or stop the river from flowing, as opposed to NF-kappa B would be like getting at the source of the Amazon river, at the headwaters. It's really at the headwaters where everything starts. So we have a very comprehensive scientific approach to keeping us healthy, and not only keeping us healthy, but also having very broad spectrum or comprehensive effects on both the mind and the body. And that's why this is these products. And by the way, these aren't the only products that are in these sort of the treasure chest of technologies and products that are coming out through Global Life Sciences. And we also have a type 2 diabetes or blood sugar regulating product that's completely unique and new. And that's become sort of one of the biggest, worldwide, one of the biggest health problems, and is considered to be one of the biggest contributors to the rise in the cost of health care. And many people don't realize that if they're pre-type 2 diabetic, which means, when you get over 40, your blood sugar keeps slowly creeping up and up and up, and by the time you get over 50, maybe it's getting to 150, 160. And if you don't start doing something about it as it keeps creeping up and up, then there's more serious health consequences associated with chronic chronic elevation of glucose. And a lot of that is coming from the type of diets that we consume today. And that's a classic example of how bad diets help to allow the negative genes that we have in our bodies to manifest. Because we have a lot of these genes, like even the genes related to type 2 diabetes, that are asleep in our bodies. They're lying there dormant for many, many years. But then over years and years of consumption of bad diet and lack of exercise and bad lifestyle choices, those genes start becoming stronger and stronger and more activated. And then pretty soon you have something that's out of control. So we're not just about hemp and CBD. That just happens to be the first product that we're putting out there that has a lot of pizzazz and cachet associated with CBD and so on. And that's all over the literature, and the scientific research is very interesting and exciting. But the other things that we have that are totally unique that are coming out shortly, like the Tune Elixir, there's no beverage on this earth really like that beverage. And what I think it will do to transform society and health for many, many people. And again, health, not just physical health, but also mental health, because the two go hand in hand. And then other technologies and products that are coming down the pipeline over the next 12 months. So we're much more than just a hemp phytocannabinoid company, and we have a lot to offer the world that's coming, and that's quite profound. And these products are coming from, especially the Tune Elixir, the beverage, are coming from almost an alchemical space. They're coming from a very deep level, how they came into being and what they are, and the space which they come from is coming from a very deep level, which is very difficult to put into words. And as time goes on, we'll talk more and more as more people begin to experience the effects of these products. We'll be able to talk more comprehensively about that process and what space those products are coming from. For now, until people experience them, I can explain till I'm blue in the face, but I'm not sure people will really fully understand and say, well, we trust that what you're saying may or may not be true, but we don't really know for sure. So it's best to let people actually, to let the tangible effects of the product lead the whole process, and then come back with a feedback loop that recycles and cycles through the entire network. And you'll begin to see this viral type phenomena occurring in the coming months as these products get out there and more people use them. So I don't want to talk too much tonight. So, Steve, maybe that's enough for now.
Well, Eric, for me, it's a gift to listen to because I know you're coming from a great place in your heart to help the masses. And some people just get caught up sometimes in internet shopping, and they can't figure out this whole CBD thing. And there's really I've researched this thoroughly. I spent just hours and hours digging, and of course I've learned from you, and that's taken me to a new height of getting educated. But get your own product story and start sharing the product. There's no water-soluble product like this in the world. I mean, I've checked everything. They don't mix like this does, 10 milligrams per serving, and we get 5 times the absorption. Do your math. We have data. Upon request, we have data. So we have a bona fide, scientist here. You guys got to realize we have a gift in our hand, and get this gift in other people's hands. There's nobody out there that has what we have. If they do, it's twice as much. CBD is extremely expensive. Eric has a way of absorbing it, all natural. There's no contaminants. Eric, what is your feeling, and how confident you feel that we can take this company to that billion-dollar status? Let the people know how you feel right now.
I think it's a confluence of different events and energies that have come together in a very opportune time. And, people say timing is everything, but timing is something. It may not be everything, but timing is certainly important. And the connection between people and all of the things that need to come together to which we could call the signs that things are ripening, and that we have the potential to have something really great and really big on our hands. It's something that goes beyond just the intellect. It's something that you can feel in your bones, and you just know intuitively that it's right. And a lot of that has to do with the right confluence or coming together of the right people, the right energies, the